I am Albert Einstein, and if you are listening to me now, then you are not here by accident, because curiosity, the invisible force that bends time, shapes destiny, and separates those who merely exist from those who truly live. People remember me for equations, for relativity, for a face with wild hair, but very few understand the secret that lived behind my silence. Let me tell you something most textbooks will never dare to say. Intelligence is not what changed my life. Curiosity did. As a child, I was not a prodigy. I struggled with words, I questioned authority, and teachers thought I would amount to nothing. Yet there was one thing they could not kill inside me: the refusal to accept reality as fixed. I learned early that the world you see is not the world that is, but the world your mind agrees to perceive. Time, for example, is not a strict ruler marching forward. It is a flexible illusion that obeys attention, emotion, and speed. When you are afraid, time shrinks. When you are in love, it dissolves. When you are fully present, it disappears. This is not poetry. It is physics, experience from the inside. Another secret I carried quietly is imagination is more powerful than knowledge, because knowledge belongs to the past, while imagination creates the future. Every breakthrough I ever had began as a picture in my mind, a playful question, a childish what if, before it ever became mathematics. I imagined riding on a beam of light long before the world accepted relativity, and that imagination bent reality itself until equations were forced to follow. You see, the universe does not reveal its deepest truths to those who demand answers. It reveals them to those who learn how to ask better questions. Most people are trained to memorize conclusions, but very few are brave enough to live inside uncertainty. I lived there for decades. I doubted myself, my theories, even my sanity at times, but I trusted one thing absolutely, T. That nature is subtle but not malicious, and that if you listen long enough, it will whisper its secret. Here is another truth you know about me. I believe science without spirituality is blind, and spirituality without science is empty. When I spoke of God, I did not mean a bearded judge in the sky. I meant the deep order, harmony, and intelligence woven into the fabric of existence. Every quat, ion I wrote was to me a prayer of understanding, a humble attempt to read the language in which the universe is written. And here is something even more dangerous to say. Your thoughts are not confined to your skull. They are forms of energy, and energy participates in reality. The observer is never separate from the observed. The moment you focus your attention, you collapse possibilities into experience. This is not mysticism. It is quantum behavior misunderstood by those who fear its implications. That means your inner world is constantly negotiating with the outer world, shaping probabilities in ways you have not been taught to measure. I also learned painfully that society punishes those who think differently before it celebrates them. Do not be surprised if your originality makes others uncomfortable. Conformity feels safe to the fearful. I worked in a patent office while my ideas took the foundations of physics, and that taught me a priceless lesson. External recognition has nothing to do with internal truth. If you wait for permission to think freely, you will die with your best ideas still unborn. Another secret I rarely spoke aloud is that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. The universe loves elegance. When something is true, it can often be expressed simply. But reaching that simplicity requires to remove everything unnecessary. That is why I said everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler, because oversimplification is a lie disguised as clarity. I must also confess that mistakes were my greatest teachers. Some of my strongest resistance came from my own earlier beliefs. I once rejected quantum uncertainty, and history proved me wrong. From this, I learned that even the sharpest mind must bow to evidence, and that intellectual humility is not weakness, but strength refined. Finally, let me leave you with the most personal secret of all. The meaning of life is not hidden in success, fame, or even discovery, but in wonder. The moment you lose the ability to be amazed by a falling leaf, a star-filled sky, or a simple question, you begin to age from the inside. Never stop wondering, never stop questioning. Do not accept the world as it appears. Interrogate it, imagine beyond it, and remember that the universe is not only stranger than you suppose, it is stranger than you can suppose. If you understand this, then my voice will live on, not in equations, but in the way you choose to see reality itself. And now I will take you deeper than physics, deeper than equations, into the truths I rarely spoke because humanity was not ready to hear them, and perhaps still isn't. Understand this first. Reality is not solid, permanent, or independent of you. It is negotiated moment by moment between consciousness and the universe. What you call the world is only the most stable version of countless possibilities, frozen by collective belief and habit. Most humans live their entire lives inside inherited assumptions, never realizing that certainty is the most dangerous prison ever invented. I learned early that authority is often the enemy of truth because institutions exist to preserve stability, not discovery. When a system feels threatened, it will label new ideas as madness before it considers them as insight. This is why the greatest revolutions, scientific, social, or spiritual, always begin in isolation and are resisted violently by the majority. Another secret is this: time is not only relative, it is psychological. The past is not truly gone, and the future is not unborn. Both exist as information fields that consciousness can access under the right conditions. Memory is not just stored in the brain, it is written into space-time itself. That is why intuition sometimes knows before logic arrives, and why certain ideas feel discovered rather than invented. I often trusted my intuition more than calculation because mathematics describes reality, but intuition touches its source. But let me say something even heavier. Suffering is not meaningless. It is friction between who you are and who you are becoming. The universe does not punish, it educates. Pain appears when resistance exceeds understanding. This is why fear contracts time and love expands it, because fear resists reality while love aligns with it. Another truth people misunderstand is intelligence. Intelligence does not come from speed, memory, or talent. It comes from depth of attention. A deeply attentive mind can extract infinite meaning from a single question, while a distracted mind can learn everything and understand nothing. That is why boredom is not a lack of stimulation, but a refusal to engage deeply. I also discovered that creativity is not personal. Ideas do not belong to individuals. Individuals tune into ideas. There's less a generator and more a receiver, like a radio tuned to certain frequencies. When you change your inner state, you change the ideas available to you. This is why despair blocks insight and curiosity unlocks it. Here is the secret that unsettles many scientists. Randomness is not chaos, it is hidden order. What appears uncertain at one level is lawful at another. The universe is not confused, it is layered. Human Knowledge is simply shallow compared to cosmic complexity. I rejected the idea of a meaningless universe because meaninglessness itself would require explanation. Order implies intelligence, even if that intelligence does not resemble human thought. And now listen carefully to this. Morality is not invented by society, it is encoded into reality. Actions ripple through space-time, leaving consequence. Cheaters eventually return not as punishment, but as balance. You cannot cheat the universe because you are not separate from it. Every dishonest act fractures inner coherence, and incoherence always leaks into experience as anxiety, confusion, or conflict. I also learned that progress does not come from comfort. Comfort numbs perception. Civilizations collapse not from lack of knowledge, but from excess certainty and convenience. When questioning stops, decay begins. Another hidden truth is about death. Death is not an ending, it is a transformation of perspective. Energy does not disappear, and neither does information. Consciousness does not vanish, it changes its relationship with form. Fear of death is really fear of losing identity, but identity itself is temporary fiction. You are in, so whilst you were in space-time, you are the awareness watching it. Perhaps the most dangerous secret of all is this. The future is not fixed, and it is biased. Collective emotions shape probability. A society obsessed with fear statistically creates futures that justify fear. A society aligned with curiosity and cooperation bends probability toward innovation and peace. This is why propaganda W, or not because it convinces the mind, but because it conditions emotion. Finally, understand this. Genius is not rare because intelligence is rare. Genius is rare because courage is rare. Most people sense deeper truth, but they retreat when those truths threaten identity, comfort, or belonging. I did not become Einstein by being smarter than others, but by staying loyal to questions that made others uncomfortable. If you remember anything from my voice, remember this. Reality is participatory. Truth is patient, and the universe listens, not to what you say, but to what you consistently believe and embody. When you align curiosity with humility and courage, space-time itself seems to cooperate, and what the world calls miracles quietly become inevitable. I also want to reveal something nobody dares to admit. The limits we perceive are illusions. Humanity has been conditioned to believe that intelligence, talent, and circumstance define destiny, but they do not. What truly shapes life is awareness and the discipline to observe without attachment. Thoughts are not private. They are seeds planted in reality. Each idea carries weight. Each emotion casts ripples, and most humans are unaware of how their inner storms shape their external world. I have seen that the boldest breakthroughs come not from certainty, but from embracing paradox, contradiction, and the uncomfortable silence between known and unknown. Another truth is that loneliness is essential for insight. Solitude is not emptiness, it is where the mind resonates with the universe itself, where intuition becomes clearer than logic, and where time can be folded, bent, and expanded in thought experiments no one else can comprehend. And here is a secret even closer to my heart. Humility is the gateway to mastery. Pride clogs perception, humility sharpens it. To truly understand reality, one must accept that you are not the center of it. Why? You are intimately woven into its threads. When these principles are lived, not just studied, the so-called impossible begins to bend toward possibility, and the world becomes a mirror of the mind willing to see it.